Erin, I don't see the,
Oh, it's recording. Go ahead.
it is, okay. Welcome to part 5 of Facing Our Fears mini-series. In this series, we're looking at our fears and finding tools, discovering ways to move through them and transform your life. If you missed the previous videos, you can find them on the Building Connected Communities YouTube channel, and you can catch up. So now we're going to hop in to the show. Welcome everyone to the Coach Patricia B Show. In this show, I help guests move from fear into their dreams. And they experience the shift from placing the attention on what is holding them back and moving that attention into what they really want in their lives. So last week, I had 3 very special guests who joined me, and we worked through some of their issues, and they are going to join me again and see what happened in their lives. So I want to invite Erin to join us. Erin, are you there? Hello.
Hi, Coach Patricia. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you?
I am great. I am so excited to be here. And I'm so thankful that you invited me back. Thank you very much.
Of course. So tell me, Erin, what have you noticed has improved? Are there still some of the fears that you were feeling last week? Are they still there? And what has shifted for you?
Well, I did write down the questions that you left me with last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess can I kind of answer those that you
Sure.
left me with?
Mm-hmm.
So the first one you were asking me, what do I know about myself that makes me capable of learning anything?
Mm-hmm.
So I really thought about that, and I really thought long and hard. And what I came to is that I realized that I've always been a lifelong student. I've always, read books, researched things, asked people questions, whatever I could think of that would help me to learn. And it doesn't matter what it was. I was always very willing to learn. And so I think that's the answer to that question. I know that I'm very willing. And having a willingness, I think, makes me capable because I'm willing to try. Now, if you ask me to teach myself or learn calculus, there's no way on earth. I think I still have a resistance to something like that. But other than something which I think is like out there and way, way over my head, I think that I'm very willing to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. And what I was hung up on and really struggling with last week was my fear of technology, my resistance to it. And so I have this big opportunity that I could go after at work, but I was kind of feeling stuck for several weeks since this became known in my work, or known that it was an opportunity that was available to whoever wanted it. And I really wasn't. The idea of having to learn all these new technologies really, I felt like I just wanted to put the brakes on. Oh, just stop. I'm not tech savvy. I don't know it. Like, I barely know enough to just function. And so that's where I've been. That's the space I've been in.
Mm-hmm.
And so the second question you asked me was if I could get rid of one of my fears and try one thing in technology, what would that be? And so what I did this week is I really thought about it. And then you were talking about kind of how me not being willing to go into that arena with technology was really holding me back. And you showed me how it was kind of putting my money in the fear fund.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a huge light bulb moment for me because I thought, oh my goodness, like I really saw the connection. I want to be free. I want to be successful. I want to learn things. I want to reach more people in my work. I don't want to be held back. And I didn't even look at it like I was being held back until you showed me that last week. So just kind of bringing me that awareness was such a gift. Oh my goodness, you have no idea how that totally released me from that fear. And so what I did this week, and I'm very proud of myself for it. So what I did this week is I learned a new technology. I learned a technology called Periscope. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I have. Takes a lot of courage. I'm liking that.
Huge amount of courage, but I did it. So I downloaded the app. I created an account for myself, and I actually did one. I actually got on there. It was so scary. And I had butterflies in my stomach and I could barely stand it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But I did it. And I actually had about 30 people or so on the broadcast actually listening to me talk about what I know about my work and how people can move forward in their lives. And it was so different from what I expected. I was afraid of trying it. It was so easy. I wanted to laugh at myself. It was so easy. And then when I tried it and people actually came and they listened to me and they made good comments, like they asked questions and they were supportive and it was unbelievable. So I thought, like you said, if you could get rid of one of your fears, what would you try? I thought, how in the world did I resist this for so many weeks? This was no brainer. It was so simple. I don't even know what I was thinking, but you helped to just unlock all of that last week. So I feel I'm in a completely different space today than I was a week ago.
I am so glad to hear that. And I can see it. I can see in just the way you're speaking and your energy and your passion. And what I want to point out here is when you were describing how you know that you can push through, that you're actually capable, you had so many experiences before in life that you were already doing it, right? But you held the belief that you couldn't, even though you had the history of doing it.
Yes.
So these beliefs are so powerful that they blind us, right?
Yes.
So what I am hearing is that your awareness of that belief unlocked you and allowed you to move. And the fact that you embraced the suggestion of trying something new helped you get on the other side, right?
It really did. Mm-hmm. It was like a miracle. I don't even know. I feel like you just stuck the key in the lock, turned it, and all of a sudden the door just popped wide open.
Yeah.
It was such a great feeling.
I am glad. So is there anything that you feel that might be still getting in the way of you going towards the bigger picture that you know you're headed?
Well, there are a few other technologies that I could tackle. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm willing to do it now because I got over that initial hurdle of I can't do this. This is not who I am. Mm-hmm. And so my willingness to see myself in a more limitless capacity, I understand this after this week and what you said last week. I understand that I am not, if I put a label on myself, I don't do technology, then I'm actually kind of stuffing myself in a box. Mm-hmm. And then I'm stuck in this little box. But what if I want to go over there? I can't get out of the box because I put myself in it. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking the box away. I'm getting rid of the box. And I'm going to try to be willing as things come up and opportunities present themselves. I'm just going to try to be willing and be more aware of if I feel myself wanting to do this, I'm going to stop and say, wait, what's that all about? And why am I pushing back on that? Mm-hmm. Is that really something I should push back on, or should I just kind of let go, put my hands down and let it come and be willing to have a conversation with it, so to speak.
So here's what I would like you to focus on this week, because you have very important tools there. Your willingness, you have realized that you do have the capacity. And even if you were to learn calculus, I'm sure you could. You just don't want to. It doesn't make sense. So, right? We won't go there.
It doesn't fit into my job, so it's fine.
Exactly. But you're capable, you're willing, and you're courageous, right?
Thank you.
And in as you move forward towards this bigger picture, this bigger dream, you will be faced by fears. They come back. It's a muscle that you're going to be developing to come back to yourself. So what I would like is for you to...
Wait, are you telling me that I'm not done with this? I'm not it's just not some miracle magic pill?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. They will show up, and they come up in different ways. Fears have their masks. They show up as procrastination or denial, or sometimes you might feel tired. So when you notice, first thing I would like you to do is to notice when the fear is showing up and what it looks like.
Okay, I'm writing this down. Okay.
And the other thing I would like you to discover is when you are in fear, if you are feeling stuck, what would help you come back to yourself? Before we rip the box, sometimes you might just say, this is not it, and you push it aside. But if you're in that box, the way to rip it is coming back to yourself. Okay? So discover what works for you to get back to your center, remember who you are, gather that knowing of your capacity, and then tackle. And let's see.
Do you mean, when you say what brings you back to yourself, do you mean like sitting quietly for 5 minutes or taking a walk or something like that? Is that what you mean?
You can discover what works. Sitting for 5 minutes, going out for a walk, or maybe brewing a cup of coffee, or journaling a little bit. It really depends what works for you. So for me, those are things I do. And maybe a little thought that you can have in your mind, like, what is this really about? Who am I? Anything that reminds you. So I kind of want you just to experiment with this and discover what works for you in coming back. I have no doubt that you're going to push through these fears.
Thank you.
But, just discover what works for you in really centering yourself so that you can push through. Because as challenges grow, the fears grow too, right? It's a constant. But we get really skilled over time in getting out of them quicker and quicker. And they just take the back seat and ride along with us. Okay?
Well, I'm going to say that I'm going to put my faith and trust in what you're saying because, number one, I think you're awesome. And you have such great advice and ideas for your callers. And number two, I have seen this week how changing the way I look at it is starting to change the way I feel about it. So I'm going to really try that and see what happens this week.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to give you formulas. I want you to discover your own.
That's fair enough. I love it. Thank you so much, Coach Patricia.
You're welcome.
I guess I'll see you next week then.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Now, is Bridget here? Hello, Bridget.
Hello, Coach Patricia. How are you today?
I'm doing great. And what about you?
Oh, wonderful. It's been a very fun week. Thank you for taking my call again. I really appreciate it. When we spoke last week, you had asked me to really identify what it is about myself that I like. Mm-hmm. And if I could get comfortable expressing that.
Yes.
I'm still not totally comfortable expressing it, but would you like to hear what I've come up with?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that I really like about myself is that I am an eternal optimist. I always can see a brighter side of a situation or have hope in situations that may seem bleak. Where I get stuck is actually getting into action when I have that hope inside. Another thing that I love about myself is how compassionate I am and caring. I'm a giver, and learning boundaries around that is really important for me because I can give to depletion. So that's why I tend to hold it inside. Another thing that I like about myself is my sense of humor. I love to laugh and be silly. That's 3, correct? Okay.
That's a little more than 3. I'm loving it.
Like a lot, Coach Patricia.
Keep speaking. I love it.
Let me see here. I like how my presence helps others. I've been told that I'm like a human tuning fork, and I really appreciate that perspective. And I think that the 5th thing that I like about myself is basically everything that I encompass, which is just the way that I show up in the world. I guess that I'm a shower-upper would be one of my best qualities.
Wow. What a shift, Bridget. Last week, it was hard to come up with that, wasn't it? Yeah. And what do you think changed for you? What helped you connect to yourself and discover all these truths?
You know, Coach Patricia, I think the biggest thing for me, the way that I was raised, is that I need permission. I need to be given permission to ask those questions of myself and to know that it's okay to express them. Because it's one thing to know it, it's another thing to make it known.
Yes. So I'm glad you brought this up because this speaks to one of the things that you said, that it's hard for you sometimes to move into action, right? And I wonder if it's this permission piece coming up. I mean, there's a belief under it. What do you think it is? Why wouldn't you have permission?
You know, I think it's a failure. I pause because I would rather not do it than fail. Or not do it and be criticized for it later. Because if I did stuff without permission, I would always be reprimanded.
Okay. So fear of the reaction in the other person.
Yeah.
Okay. And how does that fear serve you?
It's not.
Okay.
It's not at all.
So what would be helpful? What is something that you could do or think or feel to move through it when you realize that permission isn't there, and you know that what do you need to give yourself that permission?
Wow, that's a great question. You know, I'm not sure that I have an answer. I'm not sure. I need to think about that for a minute.
Okay. Would you be willing to notice that during the week and reflect on that?
Yes, let me write that down, please.
So I want you to look at 2 things, 2 sides of the same issue, okay? One is, what do you need to give yourself permission? Could be a thought, it could be an idea, it could be a feeling, you know, whatever works for you. And on the flip side of that, when you do give yourself permission, what happens? What happens next? And I want you to really focus on what happens inside you because you have no control over anybody's reactions, and everybody is reacting from their own beliefs, from their own fears. You know, sometimes your compassion, your love might trigger a feeling of undeserving in the other person, you know, and that is not, love can't hurt, right?
Right.
Love can never hurt. So people react from their own beliefs, from their own struggles. So when you push through and you say, I give myself permission to be, notice what happens inside of you. All right?
Yeah, that's really good. It's interesting because where I want to be heading professionally with my practice of Reiki, I recognize that I destabilize some of my clients. So there I am in an action mode of doing what I'm noticing they need, but it's creating a situation that I wouldn't have expected. So then I feel that trigger of, oh, you know, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
Later, I find that it was the best thing for them. So it's getting into continuity with trusting myself once I've given myself permission to. I think that that's another part of my resistance around this.
Yes. So before we wrap up our conversation, I just want to point out that being triggered is an opportunity for healing and for growth.
Mm-hmm.
You came onto this show because you were triggered by your fears. And because you allowed something new to come in, you're moving through it. So you in the healing field, if you're moving people inside, it's just like shifting, you know, it's like that little earthquake that is bringing to the surface what is ready to be released.
Yes.
Those things that really don't serve us.
Yes.
Okay? So with your compassion and your love, you can hold the space for that person and help them move through it. Okay?
I believe that. I really do. Thank you so much again for your time today, Coach Patricia. I'm always amazed at how well you can handle any situation. I feel so much better. And I really will work on these questions. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Have a lovely day.
Okay. Thank you. You too. All right. So now we have our last guest, Sue.
Hi, Patricia, Coach Patricia.
How are you?
I'm doing really well. How about you?
I'm doing great. I'm here waiting to hear. How was your week? What shifts have you experienced?
Well, Patricia, I have to say that as soon as I got off the show last week, I really had a whole shift in my mind in the sense that I was a little bit scared. I think it actually helped me. I was scared that I was putting all my money in this fear fund. And I was really started to think about what was causing that fear and what was driving it. And this huge light bulb went off in my head that I had no boundaries at all around my work. And so that need to work all the time, you know, without boundaries was creating no space for anything else, no space for connection. And so I think you scared me a little bit, which was a good thing, because you scared me to move forward. And so I started to think, why do I not have any boundaries, you know, and what causes this need to work so much? And of course, the word that popped into my head was perfectionism. And so I guess I've spent a full week now thinking about this need to be perfect, you know, in getting everything done, and, you know, what is driving that. And it's been a tough thing to move through and think about, because it's a tough label, that perfectionism. Yeah. I mean, then to try to live up to that is really difficult.
Yes.
So I think that, you know, going through that kind of that fear with you, I mean, the fear was already there, but it sort of came out as I handed you all my money. And so after moving through that and thinking about the, the need to be perfect, and then, and the lack of boundaries, I really started to look at how I had created boundaries in the past and what had really worked for me to have those connections in my life that I know I have had in the past, just not recently. And so I started to carve out time, around my work and put those boundaries on, working a normal day, which, for me is very difficult. So at 5:00 a few days this past week, I actually stopped working. And by that, I mean, I did not bring my phone everywhere I went. I did not bring, my computer, all my distractions, my to-do list, which, is my, again, need to, get everything done and be perfect and cross them all off every day. So that really opened up space for me to create connections with my family, not only through dinner, without a phone in hand, but also after dinner too. We've had a couple of nights where we've played games. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we played Scrabble. So I was able to think of something else, spelling words and not writing words and sending emails. And so, I think that I've had a little bit of a shift. And it's, it's been really heartwarming. Again, I think that fear was so big inside of me that you brought it out in a way that really, really helped me. I had no idea that my fears were costing me money, and all that worry. And yet I wasn't doing anything about it either. So I'm starting to feel a little better about having the boundaries and, trying to let go of that need for perfection. And that need for drive, each and every moment of the day.
Isn't it interesting how what you desired when you came to me last week was to have more time with your daughters, right? And that desire, just by moving towards that, uncovered this fear. The perfectionism. Perfectionism is one of the masks of fear. And underneath it, there might be many beliefs, but one of them that generally drives that is the fear of not being good enough. Right? So we tend to overdo, to seek validation and to feel good about ourselves. So just this awareness has already created space in your relationships. I wonder if you would like some help with feeling more at ease while you're at work and knowing that you are doing enough.
I would love it.
Yes.
Can we go on for another few weeks? How much time do you have, Coach Patricia B?
Yeah, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with a question to reflect.
Okay.
Right? Give me just a second here. Let me think what would be really good for you. I think that one of the things, I like to take people inside, right? Because that's where we find all our answers. So when you are feeling, how do you know when you are doing enough? How do you recognize that you are putting your best self there?
I'm writing this down.
How do you recognize? Yes.
That's a tough question.
What is different from the feeling of not being enough?
I'm going to need some time to ponder that one.
You are familiar with the feeling of stress, right? Of I have to do. That's a known feeling for you. And as you allow yourself to move into ease, notice when you're there. So I think that the other thing probably for you to think before even you notice that is, what do you need? How can you create ease? Can you create the same way you created a boundary? in that allowed expansion in your relationship? Can you create a boundary inside your work for ease?
That sounds like it would be really rewarding to have that ease within my work.
Yeah.
Maybe grace and ease.
Yes. So think how you can create that and experiment with it and notice the difference, the contrast between being in there and being outside of it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. I look forward to working on these questions.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So our show has ended. And now I want to talk to you, to the audience. As you can see, these guests that joined us came with fears. They were placing a lot of emphasis and effort on those fears, a lot of mental energy and even money in it. But they were willing to do something different. They took the step to go past them, and really what they desire became stronger than the fear. Okay, so we're noticing the shifts, and what I want is to invite you to do the same for yourself. So I want to leave you with 2 questions to reflect during this week. Next week, we have our last video of this 6-part series. And so hopefully you'll have more things coming up for you. So one of them is, what is the one fear that if you let go of would change everything? And the other is, if fear is like money leaving your bank account, what would you rather invest that money on? Money as a symbol or money as money, right? You can choose. Knowing that our thoughts are our currency, where do you want to place them to create abundance? So this is all we had for today. And I hope you have a wonderful week. If you need help with anything that we've discussed, or if ideas or things have come up, if you're feeling stirred, that's good. You can look for us. You can go on www.buildingconnectedcommunities.com, and any of the 4 of us can help you. All right. So see you next week. Thank you.